This week's episode of the Remark is written by Marble Hornet's Tim Sutton, which is appropriate as he has a lot of experience in writing for characters that are very tall and don't do much except stand around looking at things. Also in writing for characters who wear masks and get the shit kicked out of them a lot. Hello, my fellow Marks, and welcome to the Remark, the only wrestling-related show even more out of date than the one hosted by Jerry Springer. Yo, it's me, it's M-A-R-T. I-N. This week's episode of Dragon Ball Cena opens with a view of the cage that will be utilized in the match at Extreme Rules between Randy Orton and Seth Rollins, for no other reason than for Randy to look through it like Sarah Connor in the dream sequence in Terminator 2. Fitting, since after WrestleMania, both of them can say they've had the spotlight stolen from them by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Orton hears a who, then delivers a monologue saying that his greatest weapon is pain, and that he will break about 60% of the bones in Seth Rollins' body, and not offer to pay the hospital bills afterwards. Perhaps this is a setup for Rollins' spin-off show, which will be an exact copy of Breaking Bad. I am the one who curb stomps. Rollins takes the opportunity to remind Randy that the RKO is banned in their match at Extreme Rules, because as we all know, the RKO is the only move that Randy knows. So it'll guarantee Seth's safety. This makes Orton angry, and he claims that he will take out his aggression by RKOing every son of a bitch that he sees, which means that either the WWE has installed some sort of protective shield that prevents the wrestlers from seeing the thousands of people around the ring, or Randy Orton is a big fat liar. Next, Dean Ambrose has a preview match with Luke Harper, which goes on for about 3 minutes, which for a preview is pretty bloody good, as it's the exact same length as every other Raw match we see. During the match, the announcers repeatedly tell us that these guys just don't like each other, which could literally describe every single rivalry in the WWE's history, except for the one where Edge and Booker T fought over shampoo. In that one, they just really wanted to represent shampoo. They were wrestling over shampoo. Edge and Booker T wrestled over shampoo. Two grown men had a fight because of shampoo. There was a WrestleMania match in which the heavily predominant theme was shampoo. The feud was pretty poo. Someone reminds Luke Harper that it's bath time, and he runs away. The Nacho Libres took on the Who They for a shot at the tag team titles at Extreme Rules. The New Day shock everybody by having character development. Speaking of things without character development, Randy Orton shows up and delivers the RKO to everybody. Curtis Axel takes on Fandango. Oh right, because Fandango's a good guy now, because he blamed all of his problems on a woman and then started aggressively pointing. Truly, there has never been a more noble warrior. Triple H comes out to talk about how great Seth Rollins is and how he won the title at the greatest WrestleMania in history. A fact that Triple H's own WrestleMania entrance can definitely attest to. He then goes on to make a huge announcement about something that was a huge announcement yesterday, so it was a surprise to nobody. But still huge. But sadly, it had nothing to do with shampoo. That's right, the WWE is bringing back America's Next Top Wrestler, also known as Tough Enough. The show that, according to Triple H, will give everybody the chance to live their dream of having the shit kicked out of them by men 3 times their size. Or by women slightly smaller than them. Yes, Triple H says, who hasn't dreamed about stepping in the ring and becoming a superstar? What would it be like to stand on the most prestigious, respected, and above all dignified stage of WrestleMania? In fact, he says,
being a WWE superstar is better than any dream you could ever have.
Honestly, my dream was to simply discover whether mankind had any value or meaning in a vast, uncaring, and ultimately hostile universe. But yes, you're right, getting my teeth kicked in by a man in a sparkly vest sounds much better. But Wrestling with the Stars is back with a twist this time. Now the WWE is taking video submissions. One has to wonder how many ukulele covers of Smash Mouth's All-Star the WWE will receive before declaring the whole thing a wash. So if you want to audition for I'm a WWE Superstar, Get Me Out of Here, simply send your ukulele covers of All-Star to WWEToughEnough.com. But what's this? Now Kane is coming out and he looks quite angry indeed. Or is that just his face? After rolling down and handing Seth Lyons the victory last week, Kane has decided that he's had enough of the authority and he's handing in his 2 weeks' notice, having just received a job offer from a Subway in Akron, Ohio. Also, he got a great offer to appear in a shampoo commercial. I know it doesn't make sense because he's bald, but still, shampoo. After some more rolling from Seth complainings, Triple H decides to give Kane the job of being the Gate Guardian, one of the most powerful cards in all of Duel Monsters. In reality, though, he's just going to be standing next to the steel cage and guarding the door, the sort of glorified club bouncer role that Kane was born to play. Sadly, he has to turn down the job promoting shampoo. Backstage, Triple H tells Kane that he is no longer all fire and brimstone, to which Kane responds by putting on a powdered wig and reciting Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Next up is Naomi Zero Charisma taking on Bree, a small township a short ways outside of Hobbiton. Nikki Bella sits on commentary and cheers on her sister, yet she never once mentions what kind of shampoo she uses. And then Nikki loses to Naomi's reenactment of the human centipede. Next up, Heath Slater confesses his intentions to challenge John Cena for the United States Championship to one of the co-stars of the movie Babe, before promptly being RKO'd face first into his salad by Randy Orton, in an attempt to enforce the newest dietary provisions in the WWE's wellness policy. Speaking of people that could really use shampoo, Roman Reigns makes his way to the ring by coming through the crowd, making the audience 100% to blame for any promos that might ensue, as they could have easily stopped him.
I don't feel like talking. I feel like fighting.
That fight comes in the decidedly not big show for once, Bo Dallas, who declares Reigns the Tim Tebow of the WWE. Roman Reigns kicks him down, and with all the gusto of a man who is forced to say horrendous dialogue in order to keep his job, turns Bo's catchphrase back on him.
And you can believe that.
Sheamus squares off against a man who legally doesn't exist. And by squares off, I mean kicks the shit out of them while repeatedly berating the audience for how stupid they are. Wait, when did Sheamus join the internet wrestling community?
The only one here that looks stupid is all of you.
A bold statement from a man whose haircut-beard combo makes him look like a cross between a Viking and a member of Good Charlotte. Fortunately for whoever that is, I'll have to check Wikipedia later, the reigning haircut from a bygone-era champion Dolph Ziggler comes out and saves him from the clutches of the evil Irish Viking ghost. John Cena comes out to simultaneously open himself up for another US Championship challenge and also to hype up
Extreme
rules, relying on that same 90s era extreme advertising that Mountain Dew still uses to this day. Speaking of things that belong in the 90s, Kane comes out to challenge John Cena, and apparently he's had enough time to put on elbow pads, but not enough time to take off his business trousers. Although to be fair, if he had taken the time to lace up his wrestling boots, he would have had much less time to stand around backstage grunting at people, and even less time to use his shampoo. Speaking of sham and poo, John Cena beats Kane, despite his extremely appropriate and helpful wrestling attire. After the match, Cena was attacked by Rusev, who kicked him to the ground and proceeded to squash his face with a chain. Remember to submit your auditions to WWEStarSearch.com. You too could one day have a chain wrapped around your face by a Bulgarian guy pretending to be Russian. The following match pitted Damien Mizdow against The Miz, the winner receiving full ownership of the Miz brand, a brand that has even less value than the Ouya. The Miz just recently starred in The Marine 4, a movie so bad that even Michael Cole refused to shill it.
Between Furious 7 and Marine 4, over $1 billion of movie receipts are sold.
Yeah, it was all Furious 7.
Summer Rae gives The Miz the victory by betraying Mizdow, causing Booker T to talk like somebody's grandfather.
That gold digger, Summer Rae's leaving with the A-lister. This hussy.
After a brief interlude where Reddit the person strokes his beard mysteriously in a 13-year-old who just watched V for Vendetta kind of way, Ryback defeats Adam Rose. in less time than it took me to say his name. Ryback then performs his finisher on a hot dog man and a banana man at the same time, proving that attempting to make a parody of a show like this is ultimately redundant. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2016 Warrior Award, a banana. Oops. The final match of the evening pits former Whitesnake bass player Dolph Ziggler against Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship belt. A match that, much like the Star Wars prequels, is robbed of all of its tension, as there's a cat on my back. Go away. Although there are a few close calls and at least one person in the arena fears for Rollins' safety, Sheamus appears at ringside just long enough for Ziggler to catch a glimpse of him through his bleached locks, and Seth Rollins predictably takes advantage of this and wins. Rollins then proceeds to cower in the corner as Kane stomps out to growl at him some more. But whoops, Randy somehow managed to sneak in under the impenetrable cage that will definitely prevent the Authority from interfering in their pay-per-view match this coming weekend. Escapings attempts to roll the cage, only to be RKO'd from the top rope by the Apex Auditor. Activating my trap card, Smackdown begins with another promo from Seth Rollins. He's angry about Randy Orton's escapades on Raw, you see, and he says that at Extreme Rules, he can handle himself just fine, thank you very much. He doesn't need any help from anybody, not Triple H, not the Authority, and most certainly not Kane. Rollins accuses Kane of being old, tired, and having worn out his welcome, which is strange because last time I checked he wasn't even in TNA. Kane, of course, hears this and charges out to the ring to roll Seth confrontings. And Rollins reminds Kane of Triple H's words on Raw, that Kane is a former monster, because historically speaking, only wrestlers with hair a foot long could be placed in the monster category, which would explain The Undertaker's loss last year at WrestleMania. Also, without that status, you can't take full advantage of shampoo. Kane says that he's not a former monster, and that he can chokeslam Rollins straight to hell. Or at least through the announce table, which, let's face it, at times may as well be. Kane reminds Rollins that since Triple H isn't here tonight, he is the sole member of the Authority to be answered to. And since Kane both rolled over for Rollins last week on Raw, and is going to be the Gatemaster General at Extreme Rules, he believes that Seth owes him a huge favor. We then cut to a 3-hour segment of Seth Rollins helping Kane move into his new apartment in Akron. Kane demands that Seth Rollins lay down for him, or he will
Reach down your throat and rip your guts out!
Which would have been a lot more intimidating back in the day when Kane didn't look like he'd just picked up the kids from soccer practice. Rollins lies pathetically in the middle of the ring for a moment or two before Kane goes, "It's just a prank, bro," and says they're both on the same team, which is why he'll be fighting Dean Ambrose right now. Dean Ambrose staggers out to lay a few blows into Rollins until Luke Harper appears, and then J&J Security, and then Roman Reigns, and then the Archie Engine realizes that it can't render more than 6 people in the ring at a time and crashes. Next up, there's a tag team match between Flip Master Neville and Being Flipped Off Master Dolph Ziggler, taking on the tag team force of Lame and Lamer. Neville demonstrates all the moves he memorized during his stint in high school cheerleading before Sheamus hits the ring and proceeds to toss Neville around like a deflated beach ball. Speaking of slowly deflating things, 2 potentially successful superstars win a match on Smackdown. Remember to submit your videos to the Tough Enough website, and you too could be a famous superstar, like this guy. Or whoever the fuck that is. Meanwhile, Jerry Lawler tries to figure out how to download the My Idol app. Another faux mysterious video promo from Edgelord McGee, and we get a Divas wrestling match between Naomi's weaponized ass and Natalia the Certified Canadian. By the way, did you know Natalia's from Canada? Naomi wins by breaking the cardinal rule of never going ass to mouth. You never go ass to mouth. Next up, King of Bulgarians goes up against Hungry Ryback to show him the power of the Russian chain. Things must be difficult for Rusev, as being in a PG-13 environment, he's not actually allowed to use the chain in any kind of genuinely intimidating way. It's like Michelangelo in the UK version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because of censorship, he wasn't allowed to use his weapon, so he just sort of stood there and watched everybody do things. That's what this kind of feels like, contributing literally nothing. That describes what Rusev's doing and or Smackdown. Backstage, Seth Rollins and his posse meet up with Luke Harper to make sure that he's not too crazy to get in the way of them winning the match. While Harper stares off into space, wondering about such things as what kind of mustache wax to buy, or whether or not the local Bass Pro Shop is still hiring. He gets angry at the authority for breaking his concentration, as he had just gotten the answers to his interview questions sorted out. After this, New Day comes out, claiming that there is
a plague in the WWE universe, and that plague is a lack of positivity and smiling, and worst of all, a lack of clapping.
I don't know about smiling, but there's definitely a lack of clapping, and compelling talent, and quality writing. Cesaro shows up to wrestle Kofi Kingston, and then loses because nobody connected with him because he's Swedish. Right. Which brings us to the main event, surely at least a few of you have been waiting for. Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns taking on Seth Rollins and Luke Harper, with Kane at ringside, just wishing this was a lumberjack match. As do we all, Kane. As do we all. The match ends when Kane totally accidentally, on purpose, throws Seth Rollins to the wolves. Presumably, he was at least subconsciously envious of Rollins' ability to use shampoo. Will the illegitimate champion be able to legitimately defend his illegitimate championship legitimately? Will Roman Reigns be able to put the Big Show and everybody else out of their misery during his match? And will somebody at least one time do something remotely hardcore at Extreme Rules? Catch it this weekend on Extreme Shampoo. I mean rules. No, I don't.